Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I'm privileged to welcome a very dear friend, a fellow YPO, and a successful professional turned entrepreneur from the US, Ajoy Khandheria. Ajoy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Ajoy is the CEO of Optimal Health, Home Health. He's the director of Emmanuel Health Care. He's the founder of Gramin Health Care. In his earlier avatar, he worked for Harris Corp, ITAL Cable, Tech Mahindra, UT Starcom, and Hughes Software. He's an investor in several businesses focused on technology and healthcare. And as just mentioned, he's a fellow YPO member. So Ajoy, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or your career?
Well, the very first milestone is getting married.
Mm-hmm.
It changed me from being a happy-go-lucky, no responsibility person into a person having some responsibilities. The second milestone was joining YPO.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know what I was missing. I did not know the drawbacks of me as an individual until I started getting education from YPO on how to be a good human being first and a reasonably good business person second. Third thing is most of the ventures that I did were ventures I did or participated in to get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Starting Gramin Health Care was the third milestone in my life because it was based more on my passion of providing some impact, giving back to society, etc., rather than for financial gain.
Okay.
So I'd say that would be the third milestone.
Fantastic. So Ajoy, tell me now, let's talk about your third milestone, which is Gramin Healthcare. Tell me about this venture.
So Gramin Healthcare original avatar was a second opinion company for the rich and famous and the elite of India.
Mm-hmm.
I ran across Dr. Avasthi and Sandeep from IFCO, and they talked about stories about farmers committing suicide because of health and getting cured but having sold their farm, etc., etc. And their question was, can you do something with us?
Mm-hmm.
And so we started Gramin Healthcare. Gramin Healthcare original plan was to provide primary healthcare to the farmers of India.
Okay.
And we continue doing that. We have morphed and evolved over 3 years, but the idea is to provide healthcare to the farmers, to the underprivileged, underserved, at a price they can afford, a distance they can travel, but most importantly, with the dignity they deserve.
Okay. And, when you talk about rural healthcare and you're providing affordable health, let's start with discussing what are some of the major challenges people face in rural healthcare.
The first and foremost is changing behavior.
Okay.
Most of the rural population is used to dealing with village quacks, people who have inherited the skill set over decades from down their family.
Yeah.
And changing the behavior is hard. Second problem is, if you don't want it to be a charitable or a CSR initiative, you need to be able to monetize it. Monetizing service offering in rural India is hard. They are used to getting it free from the government of India. And last but not the least is, as soon as you try to figure out how to monetize it, last mile connectivity is very difficult.
Okay.
Because your average revenue per person is lower. Therefore, you cannot afford to spend the same amount of money that you would spend in urban India.
Okay. And when you are talking now of things like using technology to change healthcare, what kind of technology are you using? I mean, I suddenly have started to see this whole discussion on telemedicine becoming very relevant again today. And I was telling somebody, I think when you were with Hughes and I was with Hughes, 30 years ago, he was talking of telemedicine using VSATs.
And teleeducation.
Correct. So what is changing that has not happened in the last 30 years?
Ashutosh, it's a very simple one word, COVID.
Okay.
Because of COVID, world population, rural population of India has learned how to use digital medium to
Okay.
get information. Information has become a very precious commodity and valued commodity for them.
Hmm.
When I first started, probably 5% of rural India had data uh, on their mobiles. Today, rural India has more data utilization than urban India
Really?
because this was their only opportunity of getting the news. They're not going to go to different places. So now they are digitally connected. The goal of Prime Minister Modi was to have everybody on a digital platform, and no other power could do it, but COVID did. So now that they are on a digital medium and access digital content, telemedicine, or what I call assisted telemedicine, and mobile apps for healthcare are becoming very relevant and very used. And I'll just take a second and talk about assisted telemedicine
Yeah.
because in medicine, you still do not trust the telephone operator. So when I say assisted telemedicine, I mean telemedicine provided by a person of their own community and having a brick and mortar to know that these guys are here for good. They're not here fly by night, here today and gone tomorrow.
So, Ajay, tell me, can you help, for thousands of people who are going to be watching us talk, can you give me an example of where your intervention helped to sort out or solve a medical challenge without giving names, of course?
So in the past few years, when it was pure brick and mortar for us, we must have on an everyday basis detected at least one patient with either a breast cancer or a cervical cancer or oral cancer. We couldn't do anything about that, but we identified those. And then we referred them to the Jindals and so on and so forth, who are people who provide free service to them. So I would say on a weekly basis or maybe even twice a week, we probably saved a life.
Wow.
The one episode that I remember very clearly is that one person called with some sort of disease on the phone, and our clinicians spent 2 hours with them on the phone, walking them through all of that emergency situation because they were not in a position to get to an ICU.
Okay.
So that situation was dealt with on the phone, and that person recovered. And we got a few of those. Felt very good about that. Our original objective was to find people with diabetes, hypertension, manage that so they don't get into serious ailments. That has not happened in as big of a way as acute illnesses have.
Okay. And you just spoke about the incredible amount of data that is now being collected from rural India. How does this data help you better serve the underserved?
So, Ashutosh, the answer to that is, first of all, the data that we collect from patients is incredibly rich.
Okay.
We provide our service at an affordable price, and the price for getting our service at an affordable price is that you spend 20 minutes with us. We have a very detailed electronic health record that we fill.
Okay.
That includes the health record of their entire family, extended family, what kind of farming they do, what kind of crops they have, so on and so forth. That data is useful in many ways. First of all, for wellness and predictive. If you're able to see that this family has a history of diabetes, hypertension, you sort of forecast to them that this could happen to you because your blood pressure is going up regularly. So take some rest, drink water, take these pills, etc. So we are able to provide wellness to them. Interestingly, a byproduct of this is that companies like IFCO will be able to talk to them and tell them, look, there is a glut of tomatoes in the market. This year, do not grow tomatoes because you will get a yield of 100 rupees a kilo instead of 500. Instead, grow this thing.
Okay.
What this does is, it allows IFCO to guide the farmer on what to grow and therefore increase his income, fulfilling again Prime Minister Modi's objective of doubling their income by 2024.
Okay.
So that is a byproduct. Last but not least, it allows people with white goods to be able to promote it at a very low cost.
Okay, well said. So, you're building something which really started with trying to help a lot of people, and it's evolving into a major, I would say, data company, if I can say that also. What are some of the core values you believe in for your business?
We still believe in the same values that we did when we started, which is consumer first.
Okay.
Just because they are poor doesn't mean that they have to be treated without dignity. We believe that it should be a consumer world. We should go to them, they shouldn't come to us.
Okay.
And the most important thing is you have to respect your patients or customers.
Okay.
Treat them with dignity.
Okay. And, as you look at your journey as a professional manager and then as an entrepreneur, looking at doing so many different organizations, what would you say is your leadership style?
My leadership style is mostly evolved from the Silicon Valley, which is delegate, empower, and nurture. By and large, try to have people in the organization who are smarter than you and just nurture them.
Okay. Okay. And what about accountability?
This is one of the things that comes later in what did I do wrong. I take people at face value and expect that they will do what they are expected to do. And so accountability, I make an assumption that that's always there.
Okay. So one more question for you on related to Gramin before I move to the next segment. You are working a lot in rural India and you're collecting a lot of data there. This age really belongs to the millennials and the Gen Zs. Your children, my children, they're all Gen Zs and the millennials. What is your view of the millennials and the Gen Zs in rural India, and what kind of steps are they taking for their healthcare?
My opinion may be contrary to popular belief. I do believe that in rural India, trust, confidence comes from gray hair. I do not, my opinion, I do not think rural India is ready for the millennials and significantly high tech at this point in time.
Okay.
And second of all, again, my opinion is that a lot of the millennials have read a lot of press, have read about the 25-year-old unicorn and 26-year-old multimillionaire. So they are all looking at extremely scalable, quickly scalable, flippable, exitable type of business. Healthcare is a long gestation period.
Correct.
Rural India is longer. Healthcare in rural India is longer. So it requires a lot of patience, a lot of conviction, and may not be a unicorn anytime soon.
Right.
So it's meant for people like us.
Okay. Who have a lot of patience.
Okay.
Fair enough. So that's a very interesting segue into the next conversation, which is you as an investor. You invest in several places. First, tell me, what do you look for before opening up your checkbook to make an investment?
Being a small angel type of a person, I first of all try to see, do I have any value add to them? All of us over the last so many years have developed friends and relationships globally. Is that going to be of any use to them? Do I have any unique knowledge that can help them? If not, then I have no role to play here. You have larger VCs and PEs who play there. Second thing, which is my soapbox, is what are the core values? If their core value is, let me do something in a year and a half exit and so on, forget building a business, forget building a legacy, it doesn't suit me. And third, probably equally important, is who are the people doing it? Do they have hunger?
Okay.
Do they have passion?
Okay. So to use your earlier comment about you having to wait and have a lot of patience in your healthcare business in rural India, do you have the same kind of patience when you are an angel investor?
As an angel investor, I'm not looking for an exit really.
Okay.
I'm in no rush. I do not build in any exit clauses wherever I invest. Uh, I have amazing patience when it comes to angel investment.
Okay. And, again, based on all the investments that you've made in your own companies and others' companies, what, according to you, are some of the basic mistakes a lot of startup entrepreneurs make?
Um, I think two things. One is most entrepreneurs are good at what they do, whether it's technology or healthcare or whatever. Most of them are not very savvy when it comes to cash flow.
Okay.
Most early stage businesses fail because of lack of cash flow or lack of management of cash. Second thing that I think many of us do is delay things, procrastinate, or miss the right window of opportunity. So my personal failure has generally been timing. Get too passionate and too emotionally attached to the business. So don't look at the business in a practical way.
Very interesting. And one more question on startups before I move to the next segment. You have done so many startups, you've invested in so many places. I keep getting conflicting views on whether you should do it solo or whether you should have a co-founder. Your views?
Should have a co-founder.
Should have a co-founder. And why do you say so?
Unless you are in the YPO, you really don't have a sounding board. It's kind of lonely at the top. Now, we are fortunate that we are in YPO, so we have a forum with 7-8 people who are non-judgmental and much smarter and much more accomplished than we are, and they are there to provide the backups. Most entrepreneurs, by definition, will not qualify to be in the YPO. And so if you have a co-founder, you are reducing the risk. You are reducing the bottleneck. You are reducing the risk of a key man. And you can have complementary strengths.
Interesting. So I'm going to now move to the last segment of our conversation, which are some questions for you personally. As you look back at life and as you look at all the stuff you will do in future, what does success mean to Ajoy?
Well, success in the past was measured by dollars and cents.
Correct.
Today, it's a very cheesy statement, but success is if my kids and my family think I'm doing something important, they're proud of what I'm doing. They're proud of talking about it to people and not the balance sheet. That's important. And success to me is if my peers think that I'm doing something of value.
Okay. And, a follow-up question to that is that who or what inspires you?
I have followed what some people do. Two people who come to my mind are not people that you look about in books, movies, or through the press, but people I know personally. One gentleman is Niren Chaudhary, whose life is incredible. I don't know if you're familiar with Niren. There is a movie made on his life called The Sky is Pink.
Okay.
He was the CEO of Yum Foods in India, and then he joined a private equity, and he was CEO as a private equity of Krispy Kreme, and now he is the CEO of Panera Breads. He had very, very hard time in life, dealt with many adversities and so on, but has continued to be an incredibly successful person.
Amazing.
Just about a few months ago, he sent me a video of him being one-on-one with the then president of the US, his company helping fight COVID. Extremely charismatic person, just absolutely fantastic. The second person is somebody who's in my forum, Sailesh Khaitan. He is a smart guy. He's a passionate guy. He has empathy. He has time. You could call him at 2 a.m. in the morning and he will say, where do you want to meet? He wouldn't ask why. Yeah. And for a
Amazing.
person who's as successful as he is,
Hmm.
to be not looking at his calendar to see if he has time for you, but asking when, it's amazing. It's
Yes.
amazing how these two individuals have been something
Fantastic.
that I always like to emulate if I can.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's amazing. So my next question, Ajoy, is on failure. I've always said that parents in India or South Asia don't teach children it's okay to fail. We are always told you got to be first, go to the head of the line, and that manifests itself in our behavior patterns throughout life. Yet we keep failing. My question to you is, what have been some of your learnings from some of your mistakes or your failures?
One of the cliches that I use is it's not how you fall,
Hmm.
it's how you get up that matters.
Correct.
Uh, Second thing, early in my life, I started playing competitive sports.
Mm-hmm.
I lost more often than I won,
Mm-hmm.
which is true for everybody,
Sure.
however good they are. And there is always a lesson to be learned
Mm-hmm.
from that. One very interesting thing about failure is, again, coming back to timing.
Mm-hmm.
Way back when I had an offer to join a company and I was getting X percentage stock in that company. I said, okay, fine, let me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come back to you in a couple of weeks. In that couple of weeks, that company got sold to Cisco. My stock at that point that was offered to me was worth tens of millions. This is
Wow.
20 plus years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's better to take a decision when you know you're going to take a decision rather
Okay.
than postpone it.
Okay. Okay. And my last question to you, Ajay. There's so many people are going to listen to you and your all the advice you've given and your thoughts. What would your advice be to a young individual starting off on their life journey?
Interesting question. I just was trying to tell a young entrepreneur this answer to this question in my way.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying you have a lot of years of work left in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not necessarily try to shortcut your first success.
Mm-hmm.
Do not try to get it done tomorrow, day after.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time, learn from that.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, carry your well wishers and investors with you.
Amazing.
If you do well for them, they will be with you for the next 15 ventures that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, they are going to be not your well wishers going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the chicken and the egg,
Correct.
don't try to get all the eggs at the first time.
Correct. Well said. Ajoy, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you and everything that you're doing lots of luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.